Oh, the Bloodline story, the Bloodline saga continues. Saudi Arabia, I've been trying to tell everybody. The man who messed it up, Sami Zayn, once again, getting his nose in the Bloodline business, and we still seem to have questions. Coming up on Break It Down with Brian H., we're going to talk about the Bloodline OG versus the Bloodline 2.0 matchup, because quite frankly, I said Roman must eat, but he's still not fully there. Coming up on this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show is brought to you by the Wrestling Realm. Folks, I'm standing here today. Y'all know usually I'm sitting down, I'm talking, but no, I got to stand up for this one. Because yesterday, I had to let it process. I had to watch everything. I had to throw the match on as I got it on right now. But yesterday, we saw something that we hadn't seen. That was Solo Sikoa pin the shoulders of one Roman Reigns in the opening contest of WWE's. So let's start off with the entrances, right? Because quite frankly, the Bloodline is not on the same page. And I'm talking about the OG Bloodline, right? We saw Roman Reigns, obviously Solo and his crew, they came up first. They're one unit, right? But then we saw Roman Reigns come out, his music hit, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now, me personally, and we said this last Wednesday, I thought we would hear Jimmy's music, then Jay's music, then Roman's music. But no, we heard Roman's music, and him and Jimmy came out together. Okay. Then Jey Uso came out. So now let's take off the kayfabe hat. That's them showing us Jey Uso's a bigger star. He said they weren't equals, so maybe backstage there was an agreement. All right, fine, I'll show you. We equals, because that's what was the conversation on SmackDown on Friday. You're not my tribal chief. We are equals. We are bloodline. We are one. We are brothers. So cool. Jay had the big interest. And now you saw Roman Reigns' face. He was giving that look like, oh, so y'all really into this? You really over? But nonetheless, he went with it, right? Now, during the match, there's a part where Jey Uso, he's got the momentum, but he needs to make that tag. And he tags in Jimmy. Now, Roman did the signature, put his hand out. When he put his hand out, Jay looked at Roman and tagged his brother. He said on the pre-show, on the the kickoff show, he said he 100% trusts his brother Jimmy. So we know the twins are back. You know, they fight, whatever, they lock back in. You saw it with the hug. Roman and Jay did not hug, y'all. Roman said, yeet. But we didn't hear a lot of dialogue from him. We didn't hear him really address Jay or say what he had to say. But you know, he going along with it. You could see the lack of trust. And the thing we have to remember is it was 2 years, actually 3, from 2020 to 2023. Roman Reigns was in the head of Jey Uso, manipulating him. So it's not as easy for Jay to fall in line. Remember, Jimmy came out straight and said, I ain't nobody's bitch. He said it. Now, one could argue, well, you acted like one, you turned on your brother and all that. But he said it. But he did go to Roman. He said, Oos, I'm the only one in the family that still acknowledges you. So that happens during the match. throughout the match, I enjoyed it. But what I noticed one thing, this was the time where the world got to see just how dangerous Jacob Fatu is. Jacob showed out. Every time somebody would go for a dive, he would catch him. He caught a couple Superman. I think he caught Roman in the Superman punch. And that all led to our finish. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Since 2020, Roman Reigns' shoulders has only been pinned to the mat 3 times. 2 times out of the country, but 3 times. Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, and now Solo Sikoa. Now, what that did tell me this, that let us know that Solo is a big deal. He's the tribal heir or whatever, right? Because everybody fantasy booking this, if you was the bet, everybody would say, okay, if you pick the Bloodline 2.0 to win this, you were saying that it would have been Jimmy Uso to take the pin. If you was picking the OG Bloodline to win this, you would have said Tama Tonga take the pin. Nonetheless, the story they told us was Roman and Jay aren't on the same page. Jay is proven that he's his equal. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hand. Yes, when that point came, when they was chanting OTC, Jay didn't like that. That's why he didn't tag Roman. He tagged Jimmy. And you can see Roman's facial expressions all throughout the match. So then what? But remember, there's a point where Solo does the same thing. And Jacob Fatu acknowledges Solo as his tribal chief. He acknowledges what needed to happen. And he tagged himself in. And Solo said, hold it open. Now, one thing too, Solo did, when things was getting a little rough, he got his guys together and said, come on, get your head in the game. But in the end, he pinned Roman. And upon pinning Roman, and upon them beating up Roman, Jay, and Jimmy, and I said this, I tweeted this. I said, they need an equalizer for Jacob Fatu, because that what I said throughout the match, they showed us Jacob Fatu is dangerous. He's not to be messed with. And boom, they didn't have an answer for him. But then they thought they did. And it was Sami Zayn. So Sami comes out there, he helps him. But I've been wanting to say Sami shouldn't be trusted. We saw it looked like he was going to give Solo the hug. And with the Solo, you hit him with the imploder, whatever. But then at the end, it was Solo who was set up in the middle. He's in between Jay, Jimmy, Sami, and Roman. Now, again, everybody not on the same page. Roman going for a spear, but then Sami's going for the haluva kick and boom, knocks Roman out. So now we got another issue. Because Roman never called for Sami. But then Roman isn't supposed to be the one calling shots. He isn't supposed to be the tribal chief, right? So now we got to figure out, how do we get back? Now, I think we can kind of pretty much foreshadow a War Games match, OG versus New School. But the thing is, how do we get there, right? Is Solo and his bloodline going to be so easily to give the match? He don't have nothing to prove. Solo pinned Roman Reigns. It's not like he pinned Jimmy. It's not like he pinned Jay. He pinned Roman. He's beaten Jimmy before. And I believe he may have beaten Jay. So now, what's in it for him? What's the incentive? Is it that if Solo wins, Roman will finally acknowledge him the right way? We don't know. But I say this, the bloodline has a Sami Zayn problem. Now, can they fix it? We remember 2 years ago at the Survivor Series, Sami's loyalty was tested. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the story here, because he clearly showed he's on Jay's side. The one person who he had to hug that night, who was not believing in him. But how does he get on the same side of Roman Reigns? What's the incentive for the match? What's the incentive for War Games? That's what I want to know. But, ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a match it was. I enjoyed it. We got to see the OTC. We got to see Roman Reigns He was fired up. You know, and then when we did get a part where J Penn tagged him, but still it wasn't the same. And in order for us to get back, in order for the bloodline to be back in good standing, the real bloodline, we need Roman Reigns and Jey Uso to be on the same page. Because if they not, it's just going to be hell to pay. And the world is going to be running roughshod with Solo Sikoa as the tribal chief. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Be sure to tune in to Championship Culture this Tuesday night. Be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Realm Now podcast this Wednesday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there. And remember, I'll tell you what I tell people on the other podcast. Do not let anybody place a ceiling above your success. Check out Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Till the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.